Hey y'all, this is Shauna Harrison. I am back, and today I have a juicy sort of back bend recovery, sort of releasing through the back 15-minute class for you. So it's a short class, but I promise you're going to love it. So it's all just sort of nothing intense. It's all just kind of to release a little bit and help the spine, especially if you've been doing anything where you feel really tight. So this is a really great one. So we're going to start with straps at mid-length. I'm going to hang on to those handles, stand facing the anchor point, and then I'm just going to step my feet in, almost like I'm going to do a row, right? But I'm going to extend my arms out, and then from here, pressing my feet down into the ground, just start to slowly open. You don't have to go anything too intense yet. This is still just sort of part of the warm-up. Take a big inhale here. And then we are going to start to row ourselves in, but then take your hands and just reach them forward. So you're coming into sort of a half forward fold here, trying to keep the head in line with the spine. Let that tailbone come up and back. And then we're going to bring those hands right back up. You're going to bring them right next to you as you start to slowly lower yourself back down. So coming into the plank first, and then from there starting to lift and open. Again, pressing those feet down into the ground as much as possible. Our back bends always start from the ground up. And you can hang out here for a little bit. Just inhale, exhale. If it feels really bad on your neck to let your head go like that, then just don't do it. You can bring your chin to your chest. That's perfectly fine too. Everything today should just sort of be, like I said, a feel good. Bringing those hands in and then slowly starting to just come back forward. You can also just add sort of a little sway here. It's always a nice little release through that spine. And we'll do that whole thing one more time. Standing all the way back up, bringing those hands in, going ahead and coming back through that plank, getting that plank first, pressing down through those feet, and then opening up again. So the legs are really active here, and then we just breathe. Thinking about lengthening from the front of the body and lengthening on the back of the body just as much. Let's take 2 more inhales and exhales. And then as you're ready, we'll start to row ourselves up. Bring those hands out in front. Go ahead and fold forward. And let's add that sway back in. Beautiful. And then from there, we'll press down through the hands to roll ourselves up. All right, now from here, we are going to come into single handle mode, which sometimes gets a little confusing, but we're going to walk through it together. So what I want you to think about is we have handles and we have these little triangles, right? You see the triangle? So I have one handle in my right hand, one handle in my left. I'm going to do it facing backwards so you can sort of see. I'm going to take the handle that's in my right hand and put it through the triangle on my left side. Then that handle, the one that was on the right, now becomes the left. I'm going to take the new right handle and put it through the triangle on the left side. That same handle, I'm going to grab down and tug on it. All right? So that creates a nice little lock for us. And the reason we're going to do this is we're going to put it on like a backpack. It's like Dora the Explorer. We're going on a little adventure. All right. And then just so that you can see, I'm going to turn backwards for just a second. I'm going to stick the straps right underneath my upper back, right? So kind of bra line right around there, right under the armpits. Now, if you're wearing a tank top like I am, just be mindful here that as we start to come into some of these things, it may pinch a little bit, so you can sort of adjust it if that starts to happen. All right, so thinking about what we just did, right, with the straps with their hands out, standing facing the anchor point, we're going to do the same thing, but now we're supported by the straps. And what this is going to do is give us a little bit more traction on that spine. So we can start walking the feet in just a little bit. And if you want more intensity, just keep walking the feet in. If you want less, walk your feet back. All right, so making sure those feet are facing straight ahead. Again, grounding through the feet first. I'm going to press through my feet, activate through my legs. And then from there, I'm just going to lift my arms up, and I can start to feel a little bit of opening. Now, if you're like, okay, this doesn't feel like quite enough, again, walk your feet in, press down, lift up, and now you can start to open a little bit more. So this, again, isn't something that's supposed to feel super, super intense. It's more of a release. So this should feel pretty great. And then from here, I'm just going to sway over to my right side. Let your right hand just kind of drop down towards the ground and reach out through that left hand. At the same time I'm reaching through the left hand, I'm going to ground even more through my left foot, right? So just so I don't start to sit over in my right side. Just reaching as much as you can. Inhale that right arm back up to center. And we'll go over to the other side. Left hand comes down, right hand reaches. Good, and come back to center. Doing it again, take that right arm, reach it down. You may notice you can come a little further the second time around. If not, it's not a big deal. Inhale back. Taking that left hand down, reach up and over through that right. Awesome. Coming back to center. Good. And then from here, just bend those elbows, almost like you were going to do a baby back bend if you were standing up in yoga. Good. And we just hold. And then I'm going to take my fingertips right behind my ears, similar to a crunch position, right? Elbows are going to stay wide. And similar to what we just did, I'm going to take my right elbow down towards the floor. So it's just a little different variation of that. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, up and over to the left. And back to center. I literally could be in this position for 15 minutes by itself. I love this. Good. Come back to center. And over to that left. And back to center. And then we're just going to hold here. Take those both arms back up. Maybe walk a little further. See if you can open up a little bit more. Again, you can always bring your hands back behind that head. I like to keep fingertips behind the ears instead of interlacing the whole hand, just because you kind of end up pressing on the neck. But if you need a little extra support, use it. And then from here, we'll bring the head up first. Bring your hands onto those straps. Start to walk your feet back so we come back up to a standing position. Okay, so we did one back bend that was slightly less intense. We did another back bend that was also slightly less intense. Now we're going to start to work towards a wheel pose. So we know wheel pose in yoga tends to be a pretty intense pose to get into and to also be in, right? So it's really tricky to get into. A lot of times we end up putting a lot of weight in our head and doing all kinds of things just to try to get ourselves up into the pose. So we're going to use the straps as a way to help support us getting into it, right? And then it also helps in terms of your flexibility. If you don't have quite enough flexibility to support yourself and actually get that bow pose, then we use the straps to help us. Okay, so similar to what we just did, we had the straps before, sort of up here, and now I'm going to take the straps right at the base of my spine. And again, it might take a little bit of adjusting here just to figure out exactly where that is for you. Okay, once I get that, I'm going to just sit my weight into the straps so I feel like I'm supported. If you don't feel like you're supported, come back out and try it again, all right? Then I'm going to grab up higher onto those straps and start to walk my feet forward. So eventually kind of going underneath the anchor point here. Same principles that we had before with the standing back bends. Our feet need to be grounded down into the ground. So make sure that they're facing straight ahead. Make sure your knees are about hip width apart and that you can actually press your feet down. So from here, already you should feel like this is a little bit more intense, right? But I'm still holding on to the straps, which means I still have all the control and the straps are still supporting me. So from here, if you want to stay just right here, just hold here and breathe. If you feel a little bit more comfortable and you want to start walking down a little bit more, you can. And if you want to walk your feet forward and continue to roll through that spine, you can start to bring your head down towards the floor. Same thing here. If it hurts too much to take your head all the way to the ground, keep your chin tucked into your chest. That's fine. If you want to start playing around with your balance a little bit, we can start to bring one hand down to the ground and then bring it back up. Especially if you've never really done wheel pose, this is a great way to sort of start to work into it, because it can be a little bit scary. Because your heart starts to race. You're upside down. Let's do one more tapping each hand, and then we'll come out and come back in. Beautiful. Bring both hands onto the strap so you're supported. Tuck your chin into your chest. Walk your feet back. And just stand up for a second and just breathe. All right? So we tried tapping one hand. If you already know that's not happening, just come to the level that feels best for you. All of feel good, remember, this isn't to be super intense. This is to just sort of have these tools in your backpack so that you can use them whenever you need to after any sort of more intense workout, okay? So we're gonna grab onto those straps, walk our feet back underneath that anchor point or a little bit further so that we can be directly under the anchor point. Toes are gonna face straight ahead. Planting down through those feet, starting to walk ourselves down. And then if you feel comfortable, one hand at a time, we bring those hands down to the ground. So as we start to come to wheel pose, eventually our hands come right underneath those shoulders, right? That might not happen in the straps, kind of depending on how long the straps are, how long your arms are, and how flexible you are. If you feel pretty good here and you want to come and do any other variations of your wheel, you can. That may unweight the straps a little bit, and that's great. They're still there to support you, so as soon as you weight them back down, you'll feel supported, right? If you just want to hold here for just a second and come right out, all you do is tuck your chin, bring one hand at a time, back up to the straps, start to roll yourself up, and then come back to a standing position. All right? So if you feel a little head rush, if you feel like your heart rate's up a little bit, that's totally normal. That's what happens in a back bend, right? Because our heart's all a flutter. But we're going to soothe that out now. So from here, I'm going to actually raise my straps up just a little bit. You can go all the way up to fully shortened if you'd like, especially if you're taller. So I'm going to bring the straps back underneath where I had them that first time, right? So they're underneath me. I'm going to bring my hands back onto the straps just like we did with wheel. I'm going to start to walk my feet forward almost like I'm going to go into wheel, but now my straps are up here, so I'm not going to come into wheel. Instead, I'm just going to bring myself directly underneath that anchor point. I like to cross my hands and just sort of push away on the straps. That way, like, I'm not sinking into my shoulders. I can actually activate a little bit here. And that tailbone is going to come straight down towards the floor. Automatically, you're going to feel the spine release. It should feel really, really good. It should feel like a nice, just let it all go on that spine. Now you can just stay here and do absolutely nothing else, because this is, for me, this is awesome. And we just breathe. So this is creating some traction on that spine, letting everything go. And there's lots of variations you can take from here. You can take your feet and come into sort of a side lunge and then go over to the other side if you want to add a little movement back and forth. Just starting to open up those legs a little bit. You can take any variation of that side lunge or skandasana. We can walk the feet back in. Another great one that I love to do is figure 4 here. So crossing that right foot over, making sure that right foot stays flexed. Now from here, if you see from the front, what you want to make sure is that that right hip isn't hiking up. Everything's just kind of hanging down towards the floor. Good. And again, we should just be sort of allowing the body to hang and relax as opposed to holding ourselves up, right? Just enjoy it. Good. And we'll take another breath here. And then we'll uncross that foot. Put the right foot down, cross that left foot over, and again, keeping that foot flexed. That's going to really help protect the ankle, protect the knee, and then we're just going to let that left leg open up. Good. So core still super strong here, even though we're hanging out. Beautiful. Let's take one more inhale with this figure 4, or whatever other variation you're in right now. And then we'll uncross those feet. Just hold here. Just hang out a little bit more. If you start to feel some pinching, again, if you're wearing a tank top or anything like that, just adjust. You don't want it to be pinching so much that you're like, oh, I'm stuck, right? So just release. Good. And we'll take another breath. I'm going to turn back so you can see this. So from here, we're just going to start to walk those feet back up. And then if you took your straps up, we'll go ahead and bring them back down to about mid-length, keeping the straps right where they are, laying back into that. We're going to do that second back bend that we did just one more time. So just take both arms up, reaching, and then let your spine release. This time you can kind of flow through side to side. Awesome. And then one last breath here. Reaching back. Great. And then we'll bring our hands onto those straps. You're going to go ahead and walk yourself up. You can take that backpack off and then undo those straps. So for the next time you come into that workout, you don't have to have them in single handle mode. And you are done. So again, these are some really great stretches to do anytime, really. You can do them all in this workout, this video, just like this, but you can also sort of mix and match and put them in other places. Personally, I like to do a lot of these just after any kind of workout, really, because it's just such a great release on the spine. It's great in the morning sometimes too, so if you wake up and you feel a little stiff. So lots of ways that you can use all of this. We will be doing some more, so make sure you come back, and I will see you then. Thanks so much.